Did you grow up with siblings?
Yeah. I have I have an older sister, an older brother, and a younger sister. So there's 4 of us. And the crazy thing is, I'm the only one that really got into addiction, Everyone, when you're younger, you dabble, you do your thing, but they grew out of it, Me, I honestly, in my own head, I wanted to be a gangster growing up. That was me. Like, I didn't have no rhyme or reason of like, I want to be a doctor or anything. I see all these movies. I said, I want to be a gangster. That I want to be someone people fear, and I lived my life like that. I have the record to show it. And it's crazy to think nowadays, 10 years sober, that was my mentality. It's nuts.
Yeah. I feel like it's a combination of society and then also something that happens in the household as well. Were your parents around growing up or?
So my dad left us when I was 7.
Okay.
And like, don't get me wrong. I come from a, well-rounded, my parents have money, came from, a good family. But like you said, like certain things happen, down the line where it affects you, My dad left, at 7 years old. Now I didn't have guidance, after when that young, you need that guidance, tell you right from wrong. I didn't have that. My mother's juggling 4 kids, plus boyfriends and her social life. My parents were 19, 20 years old when they started having us, so they were still young, and them doing their own thing. And no, I don't blame my mother for, the way, she raised us, but she's juggling a full plate while, trying to live her own life, so it's like, no, I went and tried learning my best, with what I had. And, I didn't make the right decisions all the time, but like, I don't regret nothing. I'm here now. I've done awesome things in my life now. So I don't blame nobody for the way I acted 10 years ago,
Well, I think it's important to, show some admiration towards your mom. And your mom did the best that she could.
Of course.
With her husband leaving when you were 7.
Yeah.
And, 4 kids. I'm sure she's working, providing for the family. And look, after time, then, her love life, is complete, finding a partner for her is definitely important.
Yeah.
And, she did the best given, the devices that she had at the time. Did your father come in and out of your life after it or come back into your life?
So no. So after he left, he tried, don't get me wrong. He tried. They went through a horrible divorce. Divorces, a couple of years they last. They went on for 7 years. There was trust funds involved. There was a lot of money involved, a lot of property involved. So it's, it was who can get what, it was a fight for millions of dollars, So that being said, it's she wanted everything, so it was stay away from the kids, we were her leverage. That's what it was, and we know this now, And again, I'll keep repeating it. I don't blame my mom. She's basically like me using. I was in survival mode. So was she.
Mm-hmm.
She's in complete survival mode, just trying to take care of us 4 kids. And we were her leverage in a court system, of, hey, give us this, maybe you'll see your kids, Yeah. So no, he wasn't in and out. He was completely gone, And the funny thing is, growing up, I used to think my dad was Johnny Knoxville. Growing up, my dad looks almost like him, and I'm like, man, like the memories I had, because I didn't have pictures and nothing. I was 7 years old. I would see Johnny Knoxville on TV, and I'm like, man, that's my dad. I'm like, man, until I finally met this man when I was 14 years old. I'm like, that's why I've like lived with this messed up mind. I'm like making up things in my head, like to cover things that happened. When I was a kid, it was rough. But no, we finally met him. My brother actually was old enough now to say, hey, to my mother, hey, we're older now. We're going to go search for this man. It happened. And and I don't want to keep jumping back and forth, but, my dad, was struggling with addiction also. We say he was the smartest drug user out there because he knew how much money of interest he's making every month off his money. So he could do this drugs without going broke. You get what I'm saying? So like, we'll get farther in that detail, but yeah, we literally, no, he wasn't in and out. He was completely out until I finally met him when I was 14 years old.
Were you playing sports at all? What were you doing
Big
as a
time.
kid growing up into your teenage years?
So I was a, hockey player. I played football and hockey, growing up all the time. I was very good at both. I was a quarterback, cornerback, safety, hockey, roller hockey, ice hockey were my main sports. I was killer at both of them. But then I also did extreme stuff. I rode four-wheelers, raced four-wheelers, stuff like that. And that's what got the ball rolling on my addiction. I ended up totaling a four-wheeler Christmas morning. I remember like it's clear as day. I'm doing a gnarly wheelie down the street. Someone cut me off a little bit. I put it down. There was a boulder on the side of the road that I hit head on, probably doing 50 on a four-wheeler. Yeah. Flew off the four-wheeler, hit my head, slid on my back, and I hit my elbow at the same time. Shattered my elbow. Literally ran home, my arm like rubber, running home. Go to the hospital. And back then, addiction was there, but it wasn't like it is nowadays where like everyone's scared to give you anything, So hey, here you are, 14-year-old kid, take this bottle of Percocets with you. Take them as you want, And my parents didn't, expect me to just take them like a madman, So I was unregulated, popping Percocets like it's my job.
This is 2003-ish, right?
I would
My
say
math is correct.
2003, 2004.
Yeah, I feel like not many people knew the severity of opioid painkillers, and for a mom to kind of jump in and overlook that or hold them for you, it was very unlikely around that time. So I get it. I understand it. We didn't know the potential ramifications or threat around painkillers. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So like, that all happened. I'm in the mix of getting my arm fixed and started, just taking my pills like, madman. And well, then after that, the small Percocets ain't enough. You're going to be chasing, the bigger stuff. And that's when Oxy 80s and 4 or 30s and 10s all came around, and I remember, again, I'm an excuse person. I'll make an excuse to make it okay to go do something, So I made, something maybe happen at school because I was still in school when all this is happening. I was a full-blown drug addict, my 11th and 12th grade years going through school. So something happened at school. I come home, hey, called the dealer. I need these 10s right now. It gives me a reason to start doing oxys. Literally just did my first 10 milligram and I fell in love. Literally fell in love after that. Once that took a hold of me, there was literally no turning back from it. I loved how clean it was. I loved everything about it. And I couldn't stop. There's a death in the family. Nothing, people could beg me to stop. And there was nothing stopping until I said it was enough, I've been to probably 7, 8 rehabs minimum. And even the rehab stage, I would lie my way through it just to make my parents happy for that month I'm in there. And then get out and oh yeah, I'm clean, and just play the facade again that I'm clean. And no, I'm really just getting high, until it was the stuff gets stolen again. And, I'm out here robbing people and getting, in trouble. That's when, you have another problem, throw them in rehab. And it was never, my family never ever sat me down to actually talk to me. It was immediately throw him somewhere, and I used to say all the time, it's basically throw me to the wolves, and I don't know if it would change anything having someone real talk to me hey, this is what you're doing. This is what could happen would change me. But no, I didn't have that guidance. I didn't have no guidance whatsoever. It was always throw them away, and I'm not going to go to a rehab with a stranger and think I'm going to tell you my life story. No, it don't work like that. I don't trust you. I didn't trust anybody, so you think I'm going to be real with you in a rehab? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
so you think the absence of that fatherly guidance played a major factor in that?
100%.
And, not having another male to maybe open up to or just talk to about some of your problems and get some direction on, like, even if your father didn't know how to do it, like he could obviously do the research or speak to someone, but handle it and spearhead it, overlook it, and help guide you so that you're not just thrown to the wolves of recovery.
Yeah. So we'll get into this, but like I said, my dad was fighting his own problems. So even him, you know, maybe couldn't have been him that, you know, would have helped me, talk to me. It might have, because my dad, I don't care how bad of a person he was. He could have left me for 20 years and I met him. I still held him up here. You know, it was my dad, you know, I still held him up on a pedestal. So, you know, maybe he would have said a few things, even though I knew he wasn't sober, and it would have changed me a little bit. But I have a big trust issue. You know, I have a huge trust issue. I don't trust nobody. You know, I can count on one hand how many people I trust now today, you know?
Yeah.
So the whole trust thing is a big issue, where even my mom's boyfriends that would come into her life, that, you know, they all come in like, hey, I'm going to teach you the way, you know? No, you know, actions speak louder than words. Right. You just saying it doesn't work for me, bud, you know? So yeah, it's a whole trust thing in this world, you know?
Did you take any of the burden on yourself when your father left? Like basically saying, oh, it could be my fault, potentially?
Yes and no, you know, yes and no. I was still young. So years down the road, you know, you would think that way. I was 7 years old, you know, so realistically, when he left, I didn't even know the reason why he was leaving. It was almost like he's going to grab coffee and he's coming back, but never did, you know, literally. I could tell you the story over and over. So our parents, it was my dad's house and his two brothers on either side. You know, they all bought houses right next to each other, all had them built. They all had Porsches. So they were like, hey, Michael, I'm going to come over and we're going to wash our Porsches together and, you know, call it a day. Man, he pulled that Porsche out that driveway and never looked back. Went right past his brother. He's out there washing his car, and drove right past him and right into the sunset, man. Right into the sunset.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when do you make the leap from Oxycontin to heroin?
So the leap was pricing. Philadelphia, they're $80 a milligram, you know? So I would wake up to 160 milligrams. I would do 280s right off the bat just to make sure I'm okay. And you know, I didn't have the money to support that. You know, I could only rob so many people. I could only steal so much. You know, I couldn't do it, you know? So, that leap was, Reading was close by. I was like, all right, you know, I don't think I'm ready to go into Philadelphia yet. I had a buddy that was like, hey, come up to Reading. I have a really good, you know, dealer. And back then you were getting 10 bags for $50, you know, and they were smaller than Philly bags, but, you know, they were enough for me. So I would take them from Reading and take them down to the suburbs, and I would sell them for $20 a bag, you know. So I was getting high plus, you know, making my couple bucks, and I had enough to keep going and cycling and doing that. Well, then, the guy, he ended up getting busted like usual or something. That connect ran out. So now I'm back to stealing, robbing, you know, and doing that whole thing. And I could literally tell you stories for days. Like, I robbed bricks from people, you know, bricks. Literally went into people's houses and knew where they had stashes because I've been there so much buying from them. And took full bricks from them, and they had to leave town because they had New York people after them. And somehow I didn't get in the mix. Like I could tell you things for days of like.
What was the diciest situation that you got yourself into when robbing someone?
Diciest situation? So like me, my first charge was assault with a deadly weapon. Okay. I was a gunslinger. I used to like holding people up, you know? So, I've been shot at a couple of times in Reading, more times in Reading than Philly, you know? So, I go and buy something from this guy, we'll call him T. Okay. And, he literally, I told him, I said, hey, I want 10 bundles. And he knew me from around, you know, he knew like I would sell to people, this and that. So it was nothing he wasn't scared to sell to me just because like a random drug addict asked for 10 bundles. So like, nah, something's fishy here, you know? No, I asked him, I said, hey, I need 10 bundles. Oh, no problem. He walks out, he gets in my truck, and I literally just go like this with the gun. I'm like, hey, man, you're going to drop them 10 bundles on my floor and get out. And like nothing happened. He's like, no, I'm not, man. You know, we're going to take care of this right now. And I'm like, nah, I'm taking this stuff and I'm getting out of here. Well, he drops it on the floor. I put my truck in drive and I pull off. And literally, this is the first time I've ever been shot at. So mind you, I'm a skinny white boy in the hood, you know. I see the bullets. He starts shooting at my truck. I see the bullets ricocheting off the ground. And there's me like this, looking around like, is there fireworks going off? You know, not even realizing this man is shooting at my truck right now. I make the first right and I'm out of there, you know. But it's the whole, you know, me being high, me wanting what I needed, okay, that I didn't even realize how bad of a situation I'm in. You know, like literally I could have died right there. And I'm thinking I'm okay. Like I was untouchable. You know, it was like that right there was the awakening of like, you're messing with really bad people. And that didn't stop me. That literally didn't stop me. I kept doing what I was doing. And it wasn't until, you know, years down the road and like more things that happened that I, you know, was like, all right,
gotta pump the brakes.
Yeah, you need to stop, you know, because my whole thing, I fought with purpose. I always wondered what my purpose was in this life, you know, and I never knew what it was. I never knew like I had a purpose. Like, what is my purpose here? You know, even you, it's like, what was your real purpose here on life, you know? And I struggled with that my whole life, you know? And yeah, like my purpose, I always said to myself is I'm going to be a gangster. That's what my purpose here in life is. I'm going to be a full-blown gangster. I'm going to die in these streets and that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, like.
When do you make the jump from Reading to Kensington, Philly?
So after I did what I did, robbing everybody, you know.
You had to skip town.
Literally, I had to skip town, you know. So my father lives closer to Reading than my mother. You know, they're like 30 minutes. My mom's 30 minutes closer to Philadelphia. So he couldn't deal with my stuff anymore, you know. So I went to her house. I'm living with her in her house now. Now I'm like, all right, I'm closer this way. Let's go down to Philadelphia. But I made rules. So like, even though I was a stupid drug addict, you know, at the time, I made rules. You don't go to Philadelphia past 12 o'clock, you know, at night. You only buy from, you know, the poppy Spanish bulls, you know, because anyone else is going to rob you, you know. So living by that, I was pretty safe in my head, you know, don't go after night, you know, all that. And that was like when I made the jump because I robbed everybody in Reading. You know, I robbed them all. I had cops looking for me. And for real, no one wanted me around up there. You know, even my own father's like, no, you got to get, you know, be done. So, yeah, after so there's like sober time. Like I have time sober in between all this stuff. All right. But it wasn't sober to me because I was on Suboxone. Okay. So once I moved down to my mom's, I started taking Suboxone and like, I'm doing it, you know, regularly. I had a job. I was doing good. But they call it not even a therapeutic dose. I was on a piece this big, you know, but it's so strong that even trying not to take that for one day, I was crippled. Like it was worse than heroin withdrawal. Okay. So I tried getting off of that and no, I couldn't. I was so hurt that I was like, no, I got to do something here, you know? And that's what made me relapse once again, you know, is trying to get off these Suboxones. I tell people all the time when they ask me, oh yeah, I'm sober, you know, 3 years, I'm taking Suboxone. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, no, you're not, you know, and I don't knock anybody, but in my head, I'm like, it didn't work for me. I was like, I know how powerful that stuff is. I hope it works for you, but I've been down that road, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think it's important to say there are different ways to get sober and clean. I, too, had my experience with Suboxone. I was in a place where I abused it. And for me, I can't use Suboxone. I mean, I do know people that have been taking it since the day it came out and they've been on it and they are fully functioning in their life. That's not how I can do it.
Right.
Unfortunately, I look to scheme more milligrams every single day. And then when I get off of it, I just think about it obsessively, compulsively want to do it, and I can't do it. So I get what you're saying, though. Yeah.
I was such a bad Suboxone user. I couldn't do the strips. I did not mess with the strips.
The wafers?
No, the wafers are the ones I did. I love the wafers. Yeah, the strips. Only reason why is because I would shoot them.
Oof.
That's how bad of an addict I was. I would melt them down and shoot them. Okay. And me in my head, I'm like, what are you doing? Like this is supposed to keep you sober. It's like you're substituting the heroin for this, it's like a whole mind thing, and like literally I was taking them, and people now, like, you research it and all that. They're like, shooting them things, you're lucky that didn't kill you. That is so bad for your body. It's not even funny. And there was a couple of times I took a strip and was like, because I would freak out. If I couldn't get the wafers, I would freak out. I need my, that was my drug, it's like, and I'm not getting high. It was just keeping me well that day, I took a strip, melted it down.
Oh my God.
Don't I go to shoot it? I kid you not. I crawled from my basement up the steps and barely got to the door and literally was screaming, I'm dying. My respiratory was shutting down. Literally, I couldn't breathe. And then that quick, it was probably like a minute. It just went away. And I'm like, what just happened there? And I never did it again. I'm like, it was the scariest moment. I've OD'd multiple times, but it was almost like you were living through an OD. Like you were awake the whole time and like knew you were about to die just right there. It was so scary.
Were you ever Narcaned?
Oh, multiple times.
Can you walk us through what it feels like as a user when you're Narcaned?
I'll tell you a crazy story. So I actually OD'd. I went to, am I allowed to say road names?
You can say whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so I was on 7th and Somerset down in Philadelphia. That was one of the major drug blocks. Sorry. And, before I got off the block, I would do my thing. I make it a block down the street and I rear end a truck. I OD while driving, rear end of another vehicle. I wake up, mask on my face, EMTs next to me, everything, John, you're going to have brain damage. You took one breath every 4 minutes. They're like, we Narcaned you, everything, which all it does is it just made me feel completely sober right then and there. It just wiped the highness out of me, So they said, John, you're going to have brain damage. You took one breath every 4 minutes. And this is how quick of a thinker I am. I literally was like, okay, no problem. I was like, went for my keys because I'm still sitting in the driver's seat where I just OD'd. They're gone. So now I'm like, all right, well, do you mind if I get out and walk around a little bit? I get up. As soon as I stand up, I take off running. Literally take off running. This is how messed up my mind is. I make it 2 blocks down the street, and here comes Philadelphia PD on a bicycle, tackles me to the ground. That's when I end up getting, locked up in CFCF. And the Narcan literally didn't hit me like physically until I'm in the back of the cop car, and I profusely start throwing up out their window. Yeah, it was like literally, it was detoxing me right there within, a couple minutes. Yep. And it took everything out of my system right there.
And you're in police custody, so it's not like you can go and get more opiates to feel better or whatever. Nope. But and even if you did, it wouldn't hit your pain receptors, right?
So no, not right then and there. It's almost like taking a Suboxone. Yeah. You got to wait 24 hours, before you could get high or whatever.
So you went through instant withdrawal and you had to ride it all the way
out. And like I was in the roundhouse, so they took me to like Philadelphia, like county before they take you to real jail, and it's called the roundhouse. And I'm in there and I'm so messed up. Like I'm the first one in there. I'm laying on this bench and they're bringing person after person in here. And I would literally flop my head up, be like, what are you in here for? And they would tell me, and I would be like, all right, sleep on the floor. And I would literally lay back down, because that's how like messed up I was. And then they take me to CFCF, which is the regular jail on State Road down there. And if I wanted to, I could get whatever I wanted in there. If I wanted to feel well, I could felt well in 10 minutes if I wanted to. So I was actually on that block with a block owner of Philadelphia. He owned $1 million block down there for heroin, and he was my cellmate. And he's literally like, you want anything? And I'm like, no, dude, like I'm going to fight this the right way. I'm waiting for another county to come pick me up, because I was on probation for another county. So I was, about to do the rounds. And he's like, well, listen, if you need anything, let me know. I can get you whatever. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Long story short, this guy ends up pulling a samurai sword out. We're in jail. Okay. Pulling a samurai sword out this long, cuts a few COs with this samurai sword. So now, they're raiding the block after this. They're literally, how'd this kid get a samurai sword in jail, This guy, they call it boofing. So like, everybody's going to be, sticking things that they don't want the cops to find in places where you think you can't get to, you know what I'm saying? So, that happens. And all of a sudden we hear banging on the door. Hey, CO, I need to go to medical. We're like, what do you need to go to medical for? He's like, sir, I need to go to medical. Nah, screw you. You're not going to medical. You're fine. I'm telling you right now, I need to go to medical. Finally, they come and get him. He had a Galaxy 5 this big in his rectum, and it slid all the way up to here. Literally came all the way up to here, and they had to cut him open in his stomach to pull this sucker out because he boofed it before the cops came, raiding the block. And I never seen some stuff like that in my life. A charger, Galaxy 5, a bundle of Xans, and a bundle of weed. And the phone's the only thing they couldn't recover.
Oh,
crazy.
They couldn't recover the phone?
Oh, they did after they cut him open.
Right.
But he couldn't recover it.
Got it. So he got everything but the phone.
You got to imagine the Galaxy 5.
My God.
Galaxy 5, he could not recover until he got cut open. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. But yeah, so before all this though, this is just, I'm just rambling. I was doing, the craziest stunts, I would literally go down to Philadelphia knowing that there's, major drug blocks. There's guys with guns on the rooftops because they're protecting $1 million blocks,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care. I literally would go down there with, fake money. Hey, with real money on the outside, let me get a bundle, which was probably $20. Get the stuff real quick and take off, and that was my thing. I would literally go to a dealer, be like, hey, walk with me to the ATM. I need a bundle. They give me a bundle. While I'm walking, I'm pulling a few bags out of that bundle, just putting it in my pocket, knowing that my card doesn't have money in it. Walk up to the ATM. Oh, hey, ATM's not working or whatever. I can't get this right now. All right, give me the bundle back. Here you go. And I would just walk away. Well, now I just scammed this guy for $30 and he doesn't even know it. Like all the scams you would do just to get high, is like crazy to me, the work I put in when I could have been, a regular human of society making regular money because how smart I am with robbing these people. I could have been making big money at a real job,
Making big money at a real job to pay for your heroin.
basically,
So you go on, you're using heroin. How much longer do you have any stints of sobriety without Suboxone from the heroin?
Negative.
Okay.
Negative. No stints, until I wound up in jail, no stints of sobriety was out. So, all right. So before all this, my dad was a cocaine user.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was messed up in his own mind, which I don't blame the tactics he tried for me, to help me. So cocaine's not a physical addicting drug. Okay. It's all in your mind. You chase that bag, this and that until a few hours later, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the heroin, is physically addicting. You're crippled for a couple of weeks, depending on your habit, So my dad literally was like, you're not leaving my sight. You will do cocaine with me. And that will alter your mind, enough to where we're going to wean you off this heroin. Literally. So like, any way you can do cocaine, we were doing it. and it didn't work. Obviously, it's not going to work, but in our sick minds, that was his way. He's going to get me off.
Yeah.
Then after a while, I had him so spun that I'm like, Dad, you know what? This ain't working. How about you buy my bundles for me, okay? And every morning I come to you, I just give me 2, give me 1, throughout the day. So basically, and we'll go lower and lower each day. That's what we're doing. I was like, you can be the doctor. You're going to wean me off of this stuff. And he bought it. He literally bought it. He's like, okay, that sounds like a good plan. I'm like, how do I talk to these people into doing this crazy stuff, So now he's buying bundles for me, He finds his cocaine dealer to get him heroin, buys bundles for me. Well, now I know there's heroin in the house. So now he leaves. I'm ripping this house apart, finding this stuff, okay? Because you're not keeping it from me, I remember he would give me whatever in the morning and I would go search for it and find it. I would take, few bags and I would put Nestle Quick chocolate milk mix in the bag to make it seem like, I didn't take nothing. And I played that for a long time. And it never, still didn't work. Still doing my dumb stuff, stealing because I want more, But these are the things that we went through as a family trying to get me off of drugs, and it's crazy to think, I convinced these people to do that.
That's absolutely insane.
Insane.
How old are you at this point?
35.
No. At this point, when you're dad and he's buying bundles,
I'm gonna say I was 22.
22.
Probably 22. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 22-ish. Yeah.
So what happens over the next 3 years? From 22, you get sober at 25. What happens over the next 3 years?
Next 3 years,
insanity.
It's basically insanity. I was basically my father's driver, and I would hustle and rob everyone that he was around. So we would go into Norristown, a small little hood of our community, and he would be buying his cocaine, and doing his thing. And things here and there would happen, little things, just say you're buying $500 worth. My dad expects you to give him $550, okay, because he's buying so much. He wants a couple extras. Well, these street level guys are doing it, okay. Next thing you know, the big guy's like, yo, $50 adding up, you owe me $1,000, and my dad's like, no, he's giving me 50 extra because I buy $500 worth. Well, no, it wasn't happening for the big boss, So there's times I'm sitting in a Norristown house. Big boss comes to the door. Boom, where's my money? Well, I just got out of jail. Like literally, I did 2 weeks in there until I got bailed out for a gun charge. So I'm like, man, I'm just a driver here. Literally, I'm not trying to be, in any trouble. I pull out my phone. I'm like, I got to call somebody. We're going to have to take care of this. No, he goes, yo, someone get his phone. I have people with guns outside the door, get his phone. He's not going nowhere. Well, man, I bet you this person came through the door maybe 5'4", nice button-up collar shirt. And I'm like, man, he's definitely not getting my phone. Runs up on me, says, I'm taking your phone, and goes, man, I hit this kid so hard he laid out. Well, next thing you know, my dad's standing here, big major drug dealer next to him. Anything he could find off of this dresser was being thrown at me or my father. It was stereo system, everything. So like me, I'm dodging stuff. My dad got hit, split his eye open, everything. He got messed up in this whole situation. And but that was my territory. When you're doing the drugs and running this stuff, you expect that. So it didn't scare me, doing these like crazy little things, and I can just tell you that a situation like that probably happened 5-6 times, and still I'm in Norristown running amok, like not caring about anything that's happening, no repercussions, nothing. And so me, like I could tell you these stories all the time with my father, SWAT team at the house, like we had police standoffs at the house. Still, it didn't scare me, all because of drugs.
Yeah, of course.
All because of drugs. We're all in our own heads, of different situations. And Yeah, it didn't faze me, whatsoever. It was a way of life living, and you're doing it with your father. So you seem like it's okay. It's like you're protected. And, yeah, I could literally tell you story by story of like bad, I don't know how deep you want me to go with it,
Was there, when I was in the grips of addiction, there were some times where I was like, you know what? I don't even care if I live anymore. Was there ever a time for you where you didn't want to live anymore? Even
after addiction.
Okay.
Even after I got sober.
Okay. So you get sober at 25, at 25. 24.
It was November, almost 25. So November, I consider my sober date. So I got locked up November 13th. It was my older sister's birthday, 2024. Mm-hmm. 2014. Okay. I consider it the 14th. Was my first sober day, so that's what I go off of in November. And yeah, I got sober. I'm probably one of the only people that say like jail saved my life once I did, because I've done 2 weeks here, a month there, and played the whole game. It's almost like rehab, I'm just getting sober a little bit so I can get really high when I get back out there, and that's
clean up a little bit.
The song and dance,
Mm-hmm.
Man, I kid you not. If I got out within the first 3 months of my last time, I would have been right back in it. I literally would have been right back in it, because it was, as soon as I get in there, it was, oh, this isn't me. This isn't, I'm not like these people. I'm not as bad as these people are. 3 months go by, I'm like, man, thank God I'm in here. 6 months go by, I'm like, man, I would have been dead if I was still out there. Thank God. 11 months come around and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this changed my life. I'm like, I'm sober. I'm clearly thinking now. Now I have plans of what I want to do in the future. I'm literally a few people that say jail saved my life, and I did the whole thing correctly in jail. Like I didn't go and cop no drugs in jail, which is easy. It was almost easier than on the street. I had more money on my books at the time than I did when I was living on the street, doing my drug stuff, So I could have got anything I wanted in there. But no, it was my time. It was my time to get sober. But like I told you, I was still fighting in my head, what's my purpose here? That was the whole thing. So now I'm sober. I'm like, dude, I'm sober. Something has to happen. Like, like this isn't the life I want to live. Look, I'm out here living good. What's my purpose here?
How much time do you do in jail?
I did 11. I was supposed to do only 9, got in trouble in there and did 11 and a half.
Okay. So you do 11 and a half months in jail.
Yeah.
You don't use any mood or mind altering substances while you're in there. So you're completely clean and sober. Were you working on yourself? Because I know they bring meetings in jail sometimes and stuff like that.
So I had to do court ordered. Okay. I didn't go out of my way, other than if you wanted to get out of your cell a little bit,
of course,
and have some free time. No, I didn't. It's almost like, people tell me all the time, like, you should go to church, this and that. And I'm like, hey, maybe in the future I will, but I don't want to lie, literally. If I'm going to do the church thing, I want to believe in what I'm doing.
Of course.
Right now, I don't believe like that, so it's like, no, I literally just did my court order, anger management, and the stuff they made me do, while I was in there so I could get out. And no, I literally just did it, by myself. I really didn't have, my mom used to come see me once a week when I was in there. My brother would come see me, and vice versa, sisters and stuff like that. And they'll tell you the same thing. Like, I fought a good fight for myself. It was pretty wild. So
you do 11 and a half months. You get out of jail. What is life like? Essentially, with no program, you haven't been going to therapy. You've been abstinent from drugs and alcohol.
So first, when I get out, I started doing my meetings. I would do meetings and stuff like that because, I'm not going to lie, it was hard. You're coming back into the society you left, doing drugs with, so you're like, come on, how do you live now like this on the street? It's easy in jail. You're behind bars, So I did my programs and everything like that, but I didn't have a license. So when I got locked up, I got a DUI. So that story I told you, I crashed my truck. That was the day I got locked up. So I got DUI for that. Plus I was on the run for a year and a half, okay, from Berks County, because I was on probation parole up there for a gun charge. Mm. So now I you know, I'm doing my sober stuff out, you know, doing my meetings. And I literally still like something's missing here. You know, even though I'm doing the meetings, I didn't feel like I was doing anything better, feeling better, nothing like that, you know? So I didn't have a license. I didn't have nothing. I didn't have, you know, what normal people my age had. I was way below them, you know? When growing up, I'm thinking I should have been up here at this time, you know? So yeah, so like I'm in this hole thinking like, hey, like, you know, I'm so far behind, you know? So like, what's my purpose? You know, what am I doing here? But I'm staying sober still, you know, I'm not mind altering anything, you know, I'm still staying sober. But I meet a girl. I end up meeting a girl. All right. Fell in love, you know, did this whole thing. And I end up getting her pregnant. And I'm like, man, maybe this is my purpose here. I'm going to be a great dad. You know, like this is what literally started changing my mind. Like I'm going to be something great here. She ends up moving to Arizona and lying, saying like she had a random miscarriage. I think it was basically a trick to keep me around. Like I was going to move to Arizona. So she said she was pregnant, you know, and everything. Now she moves and she goes randomly, oh, I just had a miscarriage, but can't give me any information on like why the miscarriage happened. Let me see paperwork, like you were at the hospital, anything. So it was like a big fraud, you know? So now my hope of like my purpose here just went out the window. Like you're not even supposed to be a father. Okay. So now, like I told you, I always carried a gun, you know, I'm at a friend's house, you know, a friend I actually lived with, you know, he's like my roommate. One day I'm like, this is the day, you know, I was like, I have no purpose here. You know, the woman I loved went to Arizona. She said she was pregnant with my child, now doesn't. I remember it was 12 o'clock at night. All my friends are in the living room. I walked in that living room with a 9mm. I looked at all of them and said, you guys are all pussies. Cocked that gun back and right under my chin. Boom. That's all I heard was everything goes black. Literally everything went black. I'm still standing. I'm literally, my vision comes back blurry. I just hear ringing and I'm still standing there. And I'm like, I'm alive. I'm like, how does this happen? I just shot myself in the face. I'm alive. Now it goes into full-blown survival mode. You know, you're alive. There's your purpose right there. Your purpose is right in front of you. You didn't even know it, you know. I grab my shirt off my chest, throw it on my face because my jaw's gone. I have no jaw. I can't talk. I can't do nothing. I see blood squirting everywhere. I jump in a vehicle with my friend, and he's not from the area. I'm literally pointing to directions where to go to this hospital. And I walk through the front door holding my face. And I kid you not, everything was like slow motion. You know, every doctor and nurse stopped and just looked at me like they never seen this type of thing before. I go in this chair because I told myself I'm about to pass out. By this point, I lost liters of blood. You know, I told him, I said, I'm going under. You know, I'm done. So I got, you know, trach. Yeah, they trached me. So, you know, because it was so close to breathing, you know, they cut me open, did the trach and put me in a coma right away. They were like, you can't, you know, you're alive, I guess, swelling purposes and stuff like that. They said, you got to be in a coma right away. Put me in a coma. And I wake up in Philadelphia in a hospital, you know, a week later from my coma. And not, you know, I knew what happened, but not really, you know. Only thing that saved my life was I had a long trigger pull on that gun. So as you're pulling it, I'm pulling it forward. So that's the only thing that, you know, saved my life literally. So I'm pulling the trigger, and because it took so long for it to click, I'm like this, and it came right out my nose. Even my doctors, plastic surgeons are like, John, I don't know how you're not missing an eye. I don't know how your nose is still here. They're like, you look amazing for just taking a bullet a week ago. Yeah.
So this is an artificial jaw that
titanium.
You have. Okay, it's all titanium.
Titanium.
And you shot under here.
Yep.
I saw the hole before when you pointed it out. Yeah. So when you shot, so it was an extended trigger. I get it because I have a gun. Yeah. When you kind of jerk the gun a little bit if you don't go all the way through.
Yep.
And you shot forward almost and it came out up here?
Side of my nose.
Side of your nose.
Yep, side of my nose. Yeah.
What? How many people were in that living room?
Oh, 10 to 12.
Clearly they were completely blindsided.
Oh.
Did they one of your friends jumped to your aid, threw you in the car, took you to the hospital?
Thank God for, the one kid, because everybody was at all.
Of course.
I hear screaming, literally blood's everywhere. Like there was literally flesh from me on the roof because the bullet went straight through our ceiling out the house, literally out the house. Mind you, I'm still on probation and parole at this time. So having a gun on you or anything is jail time, is complete jail time. The cop who raided my house, for selling marijuana is he's the head detective that came to this bullet shot. And he walks in the door and they're like, hey, we going to write him up? He literally said, no. He said, John's been through enough. He's trials, tribulations with this kid. Don't give him more, let him, this is the last of it, and literally he didn't write me no citation, no disarm or discharge of a firearm, nothing, which would have sent me right back to jail. I get out, I'm still on probation. So probation told me, they're like, listen, don't worry about coming in until you're okay. I finally go back in there and they're like, tell me what happened. Gotta lie to them. What am I going to say? Hey, I walked into this living room and was like, I'm going to end my life. They would have been like, you're going to the psych ward right now, No, walked in. I said, hey, I thought it was a fake gun. I walked in messing around. Oh, okay, no problem. Going with your life.
Oh,
I'm like, God, man, this is how corrupt the system is. Like it's like, I don't know if I look like I'm a truthful person. I'm like, but man, how do you... Ever since the start of my drugs, even till now, I was like, why does everybody buy my bullshit? I was like, literally, it's nothing but bullshit coming out of my mouth and you guys just buy it. I was like, I don't understand how, it's like, maybe I'm just a good talker. I don't know.
What was the recovery like for you with everything?
Recovery was rough. I had to wear this compression, not a helmet. It was like a sock almost, so for swelling, I had this hematoma thing that was on the side of my cheek and all that. It was rough, and I did it drug free. That's the thing. Even in the hospital.
You told them you were an addict?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So,
what?
Oh, they're telling me that I should be hitting. So I had a button of morphine.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling me, John, I don't care if you're not in pain. You hit this button every 30 minutes on the hour. Every 30 minutes, you hit this button. They're coming in here. They're like, John, why is your bag still full? He's like, I said, I'm not doing it. I was like, I know what personality I have. I'm going to be going right back. As soon as I get out of this bed, you'll see me looking for a bag of heroin. And I'm in Philadelphia already, Did it with nothing. Completely sober. They're like, John, we're going to send you home with liquid Oxycontin because my jaws were wired shut. Literally, jaws were wired shut for 6 months. I had to carry around a kit with me in case you go to throw up, you cut these wires so you don't die, I'm like, why would you give me a substance like that knowing that if I throw up, I could, literally, I'm an addict. I'm going to do more than I'm supposed to and then possibly throw up. I was like, man, you're just setting me up for failure right now, So thank God I was strong enough, powered to say, hey, no, I can't take it, literally. And I did it all completely sober. It was nuts.
Do you think, so this was in 2015 when this happened to you, right?
That was 2017.
2017.
So I got out of jail in 2015.
Got it.
And it was early 2017 that I did that. It was March.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think that education the way it is now, so what is that, 7? That's 8 years ago.
Yeah.
with doctors and everything, do you think it's gotten better? Yeah, listen, you're an addict, right? And you shouldn't be throwing up because of your jaw was wired shut. I've had instances in, 2013, 2015, 2016, where I told them I was an addict and they still gave me pain meds. Do you think it's gotten better since?
My experience, no. So like, just like you said, I know people that never done drugs in their life go into, got hurt and they're like, no, I'm not giving you nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. I literally can walk into a dentist's office, a doctor's office and tell them, hey, I'm a drug addict. No, I can't take them Percocets. Oh, no. Here, you take them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, it seems like for us, it's so easy to get stuff. And like the person who actually needed it or whatever, no, they're fighting them to give it to them. And I'm like, what's wrong with this?
It's ass backwards.
Ass backwards completely.
So you've done a ton of work on yourself since 2017. Yeah. What are some of the tools that you have implemented? I mean, you're a father now, right? You got married.
Yeah.
You have a lot of great things going on. I met your son.
Yep.
Beautiful child.
Yeah. Thank you.
What is it like being a father, and like, how do you stay sober today?
So sober today is like, you got to have a floor plan. Like literally you got to plan your day to day, don't just fly by the seat of your pants, literally, because it just gives you a chance to go off track, hobbies. I can't stress enough. I don't care how expensive the hobby is. Get some hobbies, literally. Programs for me. I did the programs, did them all. If I could be a speaker at a program all the time, stuff like that, you would see me at them. I love to talk. I love to tell my story to help somebody. Me sitting there, I feel like, I don't know if I would like say manipulate, it's almost like I would just beat around the bush just to get out that half hour. It's like, I want to be real with people. I like telling them what I've been through, my story, just so you can see like, and I'm not trying to one up anybody. I just want that person to be like, look, this is the road you're going down and you don't want to go down it like I wish someone did for me. I literally didn't have that person to tell me like, okay, take this path. You're going to have, days of jail, hardships, everything. Or you take this road and you can live the life of luxury. It's like, I didn't have that. That's why I chose, the path I did. But yeah, hobbies, I literally programs if needed. My family is like the biggest thing. My wife, she's never done anything, in her life. So she tells me all the time, like, you do anything, it's going to be done. So like that right there, she doesn't give me, people say it all the time. You never fight with your wife, your family or anything. I'm like, we don't have a reason to. I said, I live right. She lives right. We don't argue, nothing. Everything just works, literally. So that being a big thing, I started my own company,
That's amazing,
takes up your time. Yeah. So it's like, it's literally plan your day, you know?
It sounds like you found your purpose.
Yes.
Right. You now have a purpose. Yeah. And I feel like once a purpose is found by any addict or alcoholic, they have hope.
Oh.
And when you have hope and you're grateful, they say in the program that I go to, grateful addicts and alcoholics don't drink or do drugs. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you have a lot of great things going on. Do you believe in God?
So just like I said earlier, I do and I don't, Was there someone with me when I ate that bullet? Yes. There for sure was, I wouldn't have made it, out of that situation if there wasn't a higher power. But then I don't, because you see world problems, you see, homelessness, you see all the crazy stuff. And it's like, well, if there was someone really that powerful, why do we have this going on? And so it's like, I'm a 50-50. That's why the whole church thing for me is like, I want to be real. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to be 100% in it, and right now I'm not, I'm a 50-50 guy, So I have faith, but it's not like a regular churchgoer's faith. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
Now, was it tough for you to get fully honest in every area of your life? Or was that who you always were and maybe lost yourself with drugs?
So Exactly. Literally. So, almost like the drugs was like, it was a game, you know? So like, yeah, I was an honest person. When I was a kid, you know, literally I had goals, you know, I had a life, you know, I was awesome. Like I'll tell you, I was an awesome hockey player, you know, like I literally was on double AAA teams, stuff like that. And, so what's there to lie about? You know, there was nothing to lie about. I was living my life good, you know? But then you go from this nice, good life to doing drugs every day. You want to keep that, you know, facade going, you know? So you're going to be lying, you know, you're going to be, oh yeah, I'm this person still. And you're not. No, I just robbed you 10 minutes ago and you don't even know it, you know, like literally like, so that's literally what drugs, you know, I was always a good-hearted person until even today, you know, ever since I got sober, I don't care about like what you have and I don't. I'm so like compassionate with people, you know, I want everybody to do good, you know, like I can walk into a diner, I see an old man by himself eating, I'll make sure I pick up his tab and you know, I'm not telling you, you know, I tell the waitress, don't tell him, you know, I don't want no recognition, nothing. Christmas time, I literally went and grabbed Christmas trees, tons of them, handed them out, you know, this past Christmas. I made a Facebook post, hey, if you need Christmas trees and you don't have the money, I'll deliver them to you. You call me, you know, and I was, you know, before Christmas driving around, just delivering Christmas trees all over the place, you know, just because I know the struggle, you know, I know how it's, you know, is being down that road and it sucks, you know.
So you help other people too.
I try my best.
That is huge, man.
I try my best, man. You know?
Giving back.
Yeah.
You keep what you have by giving it away.
I literally like my father stresses a lot on little things. Okay. And you know, he has money and stuff like that. The littlest thing can pop up. He got a flat tire, you know, and we'll freak out, you know, oh, my tire's flat. Now I need to spend $1,000 to get 4 new tires, this and that. Here, Dad, here's the money. Go get your tires, you know, and I could have no money, just say. The money doesn't, you know, I've had it. I lost it. I've had it, you know. I don't care about money. This life's not about money, you know. It's, yeah, it might bring you a little bit of happiness, but more money, more problems, you know, legit. I just want to live my life stress-free. I literally, that's all I want anymore. I don't want to wake up every day, you know, walking on eggshells. I want to wake up every day being happy, you know, smiling with the people I love. And that's what I do every day, you know?
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for taking the trip from Philly to come down here. And you did a great job and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man. And you better hold on to that recovery plaque that I gave you.
Yes. Right? Thank you very much for that, problem. By the way. I appreciate it.
No problem, all right.